Podcasting from somewhere in the San Francisco Bay Area, the birthplace of Bruce Lee, the iPhone, and the bendy straw. This is Ruel's Running Podcast, a podcast about running, health, family, play, and an NSNG lifestyle. And now, here's your host, Ruel.
There was a dream a million miles away. There was fire in
Amazon.com. You know, I won't be surprised if more and more stuff that I shop for, buy, and get shipped to my home comes from Amazon. It's just a reality, right? And if this is your reality, go to ruelsrunning.com, click through to the Amazon banner to get to Amazon. Why am I asking you to do so? Well, it is a no-cost-to-you way. If you like listening to Ruel's Running Podcast, it is a way that you can help the show out without spending more than you've already spent while shopping at the good folks at Amazon.com. So help us out. Go to ruelsrunning.com, click through to the Amazon.com site, and shop, connect, and enjoy. Hey everybody, welcome to Ruel's Running. I am your host, Ruel. Welcome one, welcome all. How you doing? Yeah, I'm doing okay. Got my coffee. Can somebody take a guess as to what type of coffee I am drinking and how it's prepared? And long-time listeners know that I'm drinking my coffee black. Well, not really. Meaning without any sweetener and with or without a splash of heavy whipping cream. Yummy. Gosh. So good. I start the day out making my coffee on a French press. And I don't immediately go for the heavy cream. I want the hit of, you know, when you do when you have an espresso or an espresso. English is such a difficult language to master. Anyways, or if you do a good French press, and there's a level of what's called crema, I believe, the sort of the rich foaminess that emanates from the grounds, you know, as that hot water, you know, runs through it. Well, it's that I hear that those are the oils of the coffee bean that form all that stuff, and it's all that coffee bean oil that makes you feel good. So when I do the French press, I make sure that first pour has a lot of that in my cup, so I can just get that hit. Man, I'm such a coffee addict. And anyways, so yeah, I do that, and I trickle that through the morning as I make breakfast and prepare lunches for the kids. And it's a decent sized French press, but you know, I don't drink like a tiny cup, nor do I drink a massive mug. It's just seems like a good amount for me to enjoy through the morning. But you know, for that hour or hour and a half or whatever, how long it is. But then I hit the road, right? I'll do a couple kid drop-offs depending on the time of the week, and right before I hit the train station, and I may feel like I need something. You know, if I feel a little like empty, you know, but I'm not ready for eating a meal or some sort of breakfast, you know, that is just, to me it's just a signal of, yeah, you can do a little bit more coffee, and this time have a little of the heavy cream. And usually I'll work on that, and I'm good. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm working on that coffee. And I decided to turn on the mics to talk to you guys. Yeah, so what are we talking about today? today. You know what I wanted to talk about last episode, but it was just too much, and I wasn't sure how to talk about it. But I wanted to talk about, I guess, feeling stressed and anxious, or just generally down, kind of like on the mental side of things. And you know, and it pertains to running, because when you run, you know, depending on your level, you know, if your run effort, whether it be a mile or beyond, you know, if it's a effort for you, you can easily swing so many directions as far as your what's going on in your head. Like, oh, this feels great, to, oh gosh, this really sucks. Oh, my life is terrible. I'm miserable. You know, and if you do it long enough, you know, you just experience more of it. And if you do it long enough, you can pay attention to, you know, you can realize that it's so easily fleeting, the goods and the bads. So, you know, I used to hear stories, and I've experienced it too, where I'm out on the long run and I feel so high, I feel so great, I feel things are so awesome. And I have to remind myself that could change just like as fast as you could sneeze. So don't sneeze. Yeah, but that's to be expected. But how about if you're not out on a run or whatever activity you choose to do, but it's just your day by day, you know, throughout your work day, throughout the week, throughout your month. And, you know, and I have those moments, and they're tough, you know, and I used to think that running, you know, the marathon or the 32 miles or whatever was enough to teach me to be resilient, have endurance, and just plow through times when they're tough. But sometimes it's the mental stuff that really, like, you know, like if I don't know, like if there's something at work, some difficulty at work, yeah, you know, and you're really busy, you have a project that's taking a lot of your time, but you know there's going to be an end at some point, because the project's going to have to be completed, you know. And those times can feel pretty difficult and rough and draining. And that to me is like the run, right? You could sort of endure it and know that there's an end and it'll be all over. So, you know, whatever sort of mental muscle that has developed for me over time, knowing that I could just kind of work through tough stuff, it's different when it comes to the mental stuff, because, you know, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a therapist or whatever, but, you know, I can get in my head, and I can fall into a really dark place, and if I'm not careful, I can fall into some level of depression. You know, I've never seen a therapist. I've never, you know, had any of that help. And, you know, I'm not opposed to it. But I just, for now, I've had chats with colleagues and friends who sort of are in that line of work. And, you know, what the observation is about me is, you know, and I think we all have a level of this, is we have our own way of coping, you know, what things work for us, you know, whether it's a routine or an activity. And for me and a lot of other runners out there that I've heard is, you know, the run is a way of having that therapy. You know, I know many times in the past when I'm working on a project that's pretty long-lasting and grueling, you know, I need that break, and I'll do the run for it. I'll take a run. But if I'm having like depression of some sort, you know, sometimes just being depressed might actually take me away from running. So I would really have to work at it to say I need to be out so that I can get that fresh air and I can climb out of however I'm feeling. And that happens. And sometimes I'm not at a point where I'm depressed, but I know that if I just continue to have my workouts, have my run, I can maybe stay further away from feeling depressed or anxious or nervous or stressed or down, And I don't talk about the head stuff a lot when it comes to, what's like depression or stress. The head stuff, the mental health stuff. I don't think I talk about it at all outside of how it plays a role in running. I don't talk about it like the day-to-day stuff, and it's important. It's an important thing to talk about, and mental health, sometimes can have that stigma of being, wow, that person's, bipolar, or that person's schizophrenic. But mental health is more than those things. It's, if you have job stress, right, that falls under it. Family stress, whether it's your taking care of your kids, with your spouse, your relationships with your in-laws, all that stuff. Maybe it's stuff that you've just sort of held on to from past experiences, a bad marriage or bad divorce, or, that kid, your grown-up kid who's, not, acting the way that you would expect to act, and it's driving you nuts, things that are really out of your control. It's all mental health, and I'm close to people who deal with things like anxiety and stuff. I know folks who have worked stressful jobs and they're able to function on their job, but then once they get home, what seems to have happened to them is it impacts their ability to get a restful night's sleep. They're unable to sleep, or they wake up with panic attacks and all of that stuff. It's crazy, but it's all under mental health, and we don't talk about it that often. We should, at least I'm gonna want to start talking about it a bit more. It's important, Yeah. So I'm at a point where I'm I guess level, right? I've had a period of kind of a depression, I guess, when I went through the whole job change, and and that took me away from things like running. It took me, it put me in a mindset where I didn't care too much about what I was putting in my body. And that's like a double-edged sword. You're already depressed, right? Or I'm already I have this level of depression, and then I don't care about what I'm putting in my body. I'm putting the wrong foods in my body, and that's not contributing to having better mental health, right? You put junk in, it'll impact your mood. So I was playing with that for a while, and then the circumstances took me away from things that are alternative therapies for me. In addition to the running, it took me away from spending time, recording podcasts and, talking to you guys. And I've said it before, to be able to sit down and record and talk about stuff with you guys is its own therapy. It's kind of cool because it kind of sorts my head. I got a lot of stuff going on, running around, getting to work and from work, and running around kids to their appointments, and I've talked about that daily routine. It's kind of nonstop. It'll evolve as the kids get older, obviously, and to a point where it may slow down. When the kids become their own adults and independent, and they have their own lives. But yeah. Anyways, that's that mental chat. What do you guys think about that? Awesome.
Coming up, Rue gives us something else to think about. How vague is that, Ruel? Geez. Could you be any vaguer, Ruel? Well, it's all coming up on Ruel's Running. Okay, the book is called Eat Happy, Gluten-Free, Grain-Free, Low-Carb Recipes for a Joyful Life by me, Anna Vicino. Eat Happy has 154 delicious grain-free, gluten-free recipes that are also free of any processed sugars. There are meats, fish, sides, soup, starters, casseroles, slow cooker recipes, breakfast dishes, and even desserts to satisfy any sweets craving you might have, all with virtually no sugar. If you are low-carb, paleo, are wanting to keep autoimmune issues at bay, or just want to lose extra weight, Eat Happy gives you comfort food where you won't miss the sugars or grains, so your body and brain can feel happy from eating real food. Okay, go get it then. Now's your chance. Yay! Yay!
Hey guys. So in the past I've talked about going through a job change, and long story short, I'm working for a company that has massively brilliant people. It's a band of geniuses, I swear. I work in an engineering team, software engineering team, and you can say, yeah, of course, they're software engineers, they're brilliant, but I mean, I've worked with a lot of software engineering teams. And the way I feel about this group of folks, they're not just guys, but group of folks, is that no, they're really, really smart. And for the company, they're not just really, really smart. They're really caring, and I keep using really, but it really is refreshing, really, to have that day-to-day work with really smart and really caring people, and I'm really lucky, and I gotta stop using the word really. I'm totally lucky, but that sounds ingenuine, but really. There we go again, really. Oh gosh. Still working on my coffee. Anyways, so I'll bring it up because it's awesome. I know, and I know I've been in companies where it's sort of like, oh, I just dread coming into the office. I don't want to be here, Or I've worked for companies that were all right, but the little pocket of interaction that I had within my little section of the company just was managed poorly, that it had nothing to do with the company. It just was management, right? So I'm really fortunate that I'm with super smart folks, super caring folks, and it feels great, and it helps me mentally, right? I've gone through like some ups and downs. Anyways, so what do I say? I guess in the new year, I listened to a bunch of other podcasts, and, something about podcasts. I know a lot of you who are listening are new to podcast, I'm just messing with you. If you are a new listener, welcome. Yeah, yada yada. So, right now my podcast player is stacked with various stuff, and I'll tell you what they are because I'm not scared to tell you what they are. I'll start from the bottom and work way up to the top. They're in no particular order other than however they were just kept and managed over time. So I've got the Joel Osteen podcast, the Tim Ferriss Show, Endurance Planet, Talk Ultra, the Simply Human podcast, Living Villa Capelli, 10 Junk Miles, Fitness Confidential with Vinnie Tordrich, The Feed, the official Libsyn podcast, She Podcasts, then there's this one called Ruel's Running Podcast. Not sure what that's about. There's a podcast 411. There is a Low Carb Conversations. Something called Social Media and Your Business. There's the Ultra Marathon podcast. Off in the Weeds. There's something called Bootstrapped Web for entrepreneurs. There's The Fizzle Show. I've got something called Mixergy. I've got Ask Pat. I've got Test Talks. I've got The Resourceful Designer. I've got something called The App Guy Archive and The App Guy Podcast. I've got something called The Daily Crunch. Something called Breaking Health. And, something called Running Stupid. So, and I've got something here, I don't even know what it is. Wizard of Ads. Oh, I see. It's, okay. Wizard of Ads. It's an ad guy. Anyways, I got all that stuff. And more than half of it, I've not tapped in a long time. I haven't been, I've been sort of picking and choosing episodes, and I've got, and you guys know what this is like, to have boatloads of backed episodes to listen to. Gosh, tons. It's been so swamped, and I've got some serious listening to do. It also depends on my mood. Like certain podcasts that I subscribe to, I may not be in the mood to listen to. Just like right now, you guys aren't in the mood to listen to me and ready to switch off. But anyways, why did I bring that up? Well, I mentioned She Podcasts, and I love the two ladies who run that podcast. But in the new year, there was an episode that was released, and it was a really sad episode. And and I can mention it here because it's something that they talk about on their podcast openly. One of the co-hosts has in the past talked about having, well, I won't go into it because it's not my story, but bottom line, the daughter of one of the co-hosts lost her life. The girl had gone through, I think she had mental health issues and also some substance abuse. Well, it's significant, right? Significant to a point where she lost her life. And it was a sad thing, to hear this, the podcast co-host, cover this real life personal story, and loss. And it hit me hard because, one is, when you listen to podcasts for a while, you feel close to, the host, the co-host. And sometimes I'm interacting with them on social media, and I get a shout out on their podcast, and so it's in this day and age, it feels like there's a real connection. So when I hear that story, it's really, I don't know. It's a really sad thing, and the question comes up like with now this is taking out that scenario, just talking in general, like if you have a loved one who loses their life because of a combination of mental health issues and substance abuse or whatever, there's a couple of things that pop into my head. One is, how much help can a person get who is dealing with those things, And then the other is when there's a loss of life, all of the family members and friends of that person are going to need some sort of help as well, And I realize that getting help isn't straightforward. I mean, it could be, depending on how important you see it, but, if I step back and I look at what's involved for me and my family to get just things like speech therapy or behavioral health or, ABA or family, play therapies and stuff like that, because my kids have had their share of appointments, and they still do, for various reasons. Nothing like that, but for example, my oldest son, he has to deal with social anxieties to some degree, right? And we didn't understand that until he started public school, and we got help through a family therapist who, because he was so young, who gone through play therapies to sort of understand, sort of what made him tick and whatnot, and then when there was when he went through all of that, then as parents, my wife and I understood, and we were able to sort of see things differently, and everything's much better now. But I understand what I'm getting at. Is I understand how, gosh, you got to find somebody that you can feel comfortable with, as far as a therapist, a coach, whatever, psychiatrist, psychologist. You got to find out how much the thing costs. You got to find out, if it's covered by insurance, the care, and if, all that stuff. You gotta, and if you can sort out all of the financial side and find someone you're comfortable with, it's getting the appointment, and then getting to the appointment. It's tough finding somebody who meets your schedule. You'll have to bend over to meet their schedule. It's tricky, and sometimes you've got these employee assistance programs where, like my old company, I could find a family therapist for anyone in the family, and it's covered for up to X number of times through this employee assistance thing. So the therapist knows to build an insurance company under the program, so there's nothing coming out of my pocket. Then after I used up all of those freebies, basically, I could start paying copays, right? And if you don't have it covered by insurance, it gets expensive. So, anyways, I get it. It's not convenient. It's not always affordable and convenient. And it's for things like mental health, right? It's and it can be so important that it can maybe help save somebody. So, yeah. And I bring it all up because the story that I heard of this podcaster and her loss, it's just like, my God, is there anything that I could have done? There really isn't anything I could have done. Well, there's something I could have done, but so this is my situation, right? I'm going to be open. I switched jobs to a company that I've talked about previously. It's a great company. And the whole thing that they do is they provide a level of coaching, therapy, and whatnot, right? And I know it, and I know it intimately because I work within the organization, right? So I'm in a position where I need to talk about this great service or product or company that I work for, right? And I've had conversations within the company with my coworkers, basically, about, how can we talk about the company so that others know what we're doing, right? And I talk about that, I have an audience, right? Who, if I can tell my audience, and if it means helping somebody in my audience, then that's doing something, right? But no one can be helped unless I'm talking about it. So I'm going to start talking about it, right? And how does this work? Well, the company is called Ginger.io, and I'm not being, I get paid by the company because I work for them, but I don't get paid to talk about the company here on the podcast. I just want to talk about them on this podcast because I want you guys to know about them if you don't know about them, because you might need them. You never know. Or you might know somebody who needs them. And, I'm not Mr. Fancy Schmancy podcaster, but I do know that you guys are out there, and I really appreciate you guys. And this is stuff that I guess is important, and it's real. It's not just like, oh, it's Ruel running in the mud, and oh, he has an ankle injury, or oh, Ruel's drinking his coffee again. This is like, okay, this is Ruel. He's talking. He's silly, but he's going to talk about something that's real and something that is important, right? So the company is called Ginger.io, and working for these guys has made me look at myself and think about where I could use help. And because I've more recently been dealing with my ups and my downs and my stress and a whole bunch of stuff, and because I haven't always been able to get myself out on the run, I really could have used help, right? And I have an opportunity to share what that help is to you guys. And yeah, it's great. Ginger.io. And what I'd love to do is, just keep talking about these guys until guys in the company realize, like, oh, okay, there's people that Ruel's been telling who have been paying attention, and they're able to take advantage of the service. So again, I don't get paid to talk to these guys, talk about the company on the podcast. I'm doing it just because I want to share. Okay, and this is how I'm going to go about it. I've got a card from the office, and it says this, right? I'm not a marketing person, so I have to read something, and it says this: support from professional coaches, licensed therapists, and psychiatrists 24/7, right? Your life is unique. Your support system should be too. Ginger.io gets straight to what you need. Great help right now. So immediate support, 24/7 coaching, quality care, and depending, because I know this, I know the service pretty intimately, and depending on what you need, there's an opportunity for video therapy. And now you're thinking, like, what? Video therapy? What does that mean? So what it is you have an iPhone or you have an Android device. You download the app, the Ginger.io app, okay? And you go onto the app, you answer a couple questions at the get-go, just sort of like, what would you like to focus on today type stuff. Just really easy, nothing complicated, very, very, You'll see what I mean. Download the app, Ginger.io, Ginger.io. Find it. You can find it on the Play Store, the Google Play Store if you're on Android, and you can find it on the App Store if you're on iPhone, right? You find it, you go on, and what happens is you come in as a trial user, and right away you have an opportunity to interact with a real person. They're called coaches, right? And these are real coaches, and you'll find out who they are because you'll see who they are. You can read a little bio, find out who exactly you're talking to, when they're available, but that's pretty much it, right? And you get to try it out. You're on a trial basis, and I encourage you to download the app and say hi to a coach. Think about yourself and what you might, just talk about. Well, you're not talking. You're basically chatting on the iPhone, on the device. You're real time having chats with a person. You'll get on, you'll get greeted. Don't get scared. Say hi back. And see where it takes you. These are folks that I am colleagues with, that I work around. But make no mistake, it's confidential. I don't know anything. This is none of my. It's basically like it's healthcare. The company's a healthcare provider, right? So there are certain things that have to remain confidential for sort of a health medical sort of privacy standpoint. So I work on the technology side, but that's it. The real care happens from these coaches, therapists, and psychiatrists. So you'll get the app, you'll go on, and you'll get a coach, and then you guys kind of work through whatever you want to work through. You may just want to have somebody to chat with, and talk about what's going on in your world, and I guarantee it. If you come in with looking for some sort of guidance and help, the coaches, the staff that you're going to interact with, they're awesome. They're caring. They're real. They're not. It's not like. It's not canned responses and robots and stuff like that. It's real. Check them out. So that's that. Ginger.io. They're an app. They get you in contact with basically a care team, right? So now what does that do? Is you're already on your mobile device. You have you have the ability to access someone that you can interact with, consult, get sort of guidance or help, when you feel stressed, or if you worry that you're going to be stressed or anxious or down, check them out. It's free, and I haven't worked it out with the company, but I just want to talk about this with you guys, and this is something that already exists, right? I want to share it with you guys. Take this code, right? It's a promo code. It's for $30 off your first month. So what happens is you sign up. You get the app. You get started. You're already on a trial basis, and it's a limited trial basis, right? So beyond that, right? Once you decide this is something you want to continue on, right? There are packages that you can subscribe to, and this is a promo code that will give you $30 off your first month, right? And I didn't want to leave you guys without anything. This code that I'm going to give you isn't tied to me or this podcast in any way. This is sort of like something that's made available that we can hand out as staff members to friends and family, or if there's, say, a public setting, maybe it's kind of like a show or convention, I don't know, maybe something along those lines that you can sort of hand out. So again, this is sort of like a promo code that, will give you a deal off of your first month. And it's $30 off for the first month, and the code is CARE39. CARE39. It's printed out here on this card all in uppercase. So just, if it doesn't work because you typed it in lowercase, try all uppercase. CARE39. No spaces. And that's supposed to give you $30 off your first month. But yeah, give it a try. Yeah. Ginger.io. So I hope that comes out crystal clear. Again, it's an app. You download it, you go on. Immediately you get to interact with a coach, a real person. And it's important if you need that help because you just need somebody to help support you. Maybe you don't have a lot of interaction with folks, and who are encouraging and who are have that expertise to help you through whatever you're going through. You can get it here, and you don't have to be like you could be like right when you get up in the morning, you'll have somebody there, or in the evening, you'll have somebody there. When it's convenient for you, you'll get that. You'll be able to get that interaction. Yeah, check them out. You can also go to the website at ginger.io. I mean ginger.io. GINGER.io. Find out more about the company. But then you can also go to the App Store and Google Play and download the app. There you go. Check them out. Yeah, and I don't know. Let me know. Well, you don't have to, but I'd be curious to know how many of you guys out there take me up on this suggestion or this offer or recommendation, however you want to call it, because this is just how I can help. Going through my ups and downs myself, hearing stories about folks and tragedies and thinking, my gosh, I work with a band of people whose mission is to help folks who are going through all of this stuff, So, there you go. Awesome. Ginger.io. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate you paying attention to that bit. It's important. So if not for you, maybe somebody, maybe down the road you'll be like, Ruel had mentioned about this service, about this app. Let me dig it. Let me make that recommendation and share it. And here's the website, or here's the app. Check it out. It's literally like right now, you guys are on your phone listening to me. You could go to the App Store and find ginger.io, download it, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. Awesome. I'm going to leave it there. I am going to finish my coffee before it gets too cold. But even if it does get cold, I don't mind. And I'm going to do something to be productive. Hey guys, take care, and I'll catch you on the next episode. So remember, hug a friend, hug your family, eat something delicious, and go run. Something. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Ruel's Running Podcast with Ruel. If you like what you just heard, share it with your friends and your enemies. Also, be sure to check out the site over at ruelsrunning.com. This has been another Coffee with Heavy Cream production. Join us next time for another silly show of Ruel's Running Podcast.